Conflict is not the enemy. It's how we handle conflict that destroys relationships. The biggest mistake that people make when trying to deal with conflict is they bring a logical brain to an emotional nervous system. And that doesn't work.
Today, we're going to show you how to negotiate conflict so that it works for your relationship and not against it. So grab a pen and let's begin.
Hello. Hey everyone, we're Jeff and Ellen, and today we're talking about conflict. And this is a really important topic for both of us because it comes up every day with clients.
It's probably, if we had to put like our top three requests to get help with in relationship, conflict might be in the top one or two.
And then below that is also conflict. So it's the top two of the three choices of that people come to us. So clients come when we have our consultations. It's usually the first thing that people tell us is that they're having conflict, or if they're being really polite about it, they say we have communication issues.
I was going to put that as number three on the list. Communication.
Just conflict.
Yeah, which is conflict in disguise.
Yeah. So everyone wants to work on conflict. And it's such a big thing. It happens in all relationships. Whenever there's two people involved, you're going to have conflict.
It's the part that really is challenging. It's the part that doesn't feel great. And it's the part we don't know how to do really well. At least many of us don't.
Mm-hmm. Now, the first thing is conflict is natural. It happens in relationships, and conflict should be happening. It's a red flag if conflict is not happening in your relationships. Because we are two different people, we have two different opinions. And therefore, two different opinions, whether it's talking about what are we doing for dinner, or how we're decorating a room, or how we're parenting a child, we won't see everything eye to eye. And that's important because something between my position and your position is something that's what we create together. And that is different than me alone and you alone. And so conflict is going to happen. So
wherever there's difference, there is an opportunity for conflict.
So the reason why people find conflict challenging is because they don't understand what's driving the conflict. And so it's important to talk about our nervous systems. And so our nervous system is designed to interpret the external world, hot, cold, but most importantly, like safety is, where am I safe and where are the threats coming at me? And when we have the threats, that's when our energy increases, our threat response gets activated, and then we move into those fight, flight, or freeze response.
Or fawn.
Or fawning. And so that would be the appropriate response that's happening. But in today's world, it seems like everything is threatening, like the world is not safe.
No. And then there was crime, and now it's the war on crime.
The war on crime.
Yeah. Everything is intense.
It's so intense, and it just feels like there's threats all around us.
And so our nervous systems become that much more sensitive.
Just staying active all the time. And so we're very close. We're almost on threshold. Our nervous systems are almost on threshold to moving into the fight or flight response. And so conflict ends up being front and center.
Conflict, though, is about navigating difference. So if difference is perceived as a threat and then our nervous system goes off, then conflict is going to be like, DEFCON 5, like red alert, high alert, conflict is coming. And so we need to learn how to regulate our nervous system. We need to basically learn how to parent our own nervous system so we can downgrade the response when appropriate and say, okay, I'm on alert. This isn't, death isn't on the line here, but there is something getting my attention. Yeah. And at the core, that's what conflict is. It is about negotiating difference. Difference doesn't mean bad, but if our nervous system equates it to that, it'll respond as though difference is bad. What we have to learn is that difference is just different and actually can bring something really healthy, beneficial, or good into our lives.
Mm-hmm. So probably the first thing for you to think about when conflict is to know, how are you responding to it? So we all have what's called the relational stance. And that is when conflict or contrast shows up in your life, what do? Does your energy get your back up? Does your energy increase? And then do you become sort of like a bear? Claws out, big, loud, aggressive to overpower, therefore pushing the conflict away or the threat away?
Or do you withdraw so that your nervous system freezes, or you feel overwhelmed, and so then you just withdraw your energy into the point where you can even turn your back on the person and stonewall that person?
Or leave the room, much like a deer or a turtle that is like just sinks into the shell. And so it's important to know what's your habitual response. I think we both do both. Like sometimes I can like shut down and pull away. But I think my tendency is more I get big and loud. I get sort of like the angry bear kind of thing.
And I will numb out or withdraw my energy.
And so the extreme is, she can be married to the Incredible Hulk.
And he can be married to the Ice Queen.
It's a great match.
And while we have our cute names for it, what it actually results in, we aren't actually negotiating conflict in that stance. We're actually perpetuating conflict. And if we want to resolve and negotiate conflict, we have to get out of that stance so that we can turn toward each other again and actually talk about what really is happening in the room.
Yeah.
Because conflict is trying to get our attention. It's saying there's something that's happening in your world, in your dynamic, that you need to pay attention. Not because you've done something wrong or this is bad, but because there's a growth opportunity, because it's time to shed an old belief or habit. And it's a way to deepen our connection and evolve as human beings. So why do people find conflict such a challenging thing?
Because they don't know what they're actually arguing about. I think that's the thing, is like people have difficulty with conflict because they believe that they're arguing about this when they're actually not. And when our nervous system gets activated, we sort of lose our ability to see clearly. We don't actually see well. We get tunnel vision. We actually stop listening and we start moving to, talking more. And actually don't think really straight. So when we get activated, we don't have all our capacities available. We start to,
Right.
we're hunkering down. And when we hunker down with limited knowledge, it's just a recipe for an explosion to happen.
Right. And then when we're in that defensive stance, we're defending, we're not asking questions, we're not seeking information. So we're working on a piece of a story.
Mm-hmm.
And that piece of a story is coming from our own story too. So we don't have all the necessary knowledge. And then we don't have, as you were saying, the capacity or the faculty to actually process what we do have in a better way.
Yeah, so there's two things. One is that we are working on just limited knowledge.
Yeah.
We only have our own perspective. I'm only working on my perspective. I haven't had yours yet. So with that, I'm only seeing one side of the story.
Right.
Because my nervous system gets activated, I'm moving to increase my speed.
Yes, that's a really good point. We're going
Because
fast.
I'm uncomfortable. I don't want this conflict to keep going. I'd like this conflict to
Let's
be
get
over.
it over. Can we get this back?
So let's rush to solution.
Right.
Like, hey, okay, whatever dinner, let's just go get pizza.
Yeah.
And then that's the decision. And then
Let's agree to disagree.
yeah, and then we are rushing to solution.
Right.
And we don't even know what we're arguing about. We think it's the dishes or the shoes in the front hallway, but underneath that, something much more important. So let's talk about them. What are the core themes that we argue about?
Well, we tend to argue about power. That's a big one. Do I have power in this relationship? Do I have say? Do I have influence? How do we make decisions? Is it a shared decision-making process? Whose idea ends up coming out or winning?
Yeah, is it my way or your way? And then that competition. So the power, sharing power, who vetoes, how do we negotiate and distribute power? Yep, that's important.
We also tend to argue about safety in a relationship. Do I feel safe in this relationship? Do I feel threatened, emotionally threatened? Do I feel like there's room in this relationship for my needs, for my emotions, for my perspective?
Do I feel like I belong?
Yeah.
So in this, are you all in? Like, do you have my back here? Or is this a temporary stop for you? And then you're going to move on? So I'm questioning, can I really downgrade my nervous system to say, no, I'm home, I'm safe here. This is safe to nest. I think that's important, and that gets threatened many times. I think the third thing is then respect, which is, am I seen as an equal to you?
Yes.
Like, if there's a comparison between, well, my opinion is this, and I have a story that, my opinion is educated, more experienced,
better,
and you're less, then all of my communication, whether it's in conflict or not, is going to be, I'm speaking to someone who has less respect in my eyes.
Yeah. The other thing we argue about, if I can bring up one more, is trust. And that goes along with safety, but it's also trust. I want to trust that what you say is in what you're going to do, that you are going to deliver on your commitments, that you are going to speak responsibly to me, that you're going to take ownership for the impact you have.
Yeah, do I trust you in our privacy?
So, what's the antidote to conflict?
Listening, which seems pretty simple, but during conflict, listening is not our first card that we want to play.
No.
We believe that during conflict, that the answer is that we're just going to speak, because the belief is that if you just understand me more, meaning I'm the speaker, then you'll get me more, and if you get me more, then you'll agree more. But she's doing the same thing. If I just speak more and Jeff listens, then Jeff will understand me more, and then the conflict will come down.
And now we're in a battle of words.
Of two people speaking.
And we're filling up the space with words.
And we're trying to search through this pile of just more words. It's louder. It's faster.
It becomes more aggressive over time.
We're just building on building. And then it makes it really challenging. It starts on one thing, and then we can quickly get to another topic real fast. And then you and I have lost 3 hours of our time because we're like, I don't even know what was the original thing?
Oh, I know.
Because
it's amazing.
We're on topic 4 now.
Right, because you say something like, oh, well, that makes me think of this, and then that makes me think of this, and well, what about this? And then we just keep doing that. And then until there's a big eruption and we end up walking away from each other in total anger. It's a total bust. And so instead of getting to that point, when we can get better at recognizing conflict in its earliest stage, I need to also recognize when your system and nervous system is activated, because then I know you're not listening to me. I could be telling you gold. Mm-hmm. You won't be able to take it in effectively. No. And that doesn't make us bad people. That makes us human with a biology to defend and keep us safe.
So first step for you when you're dealing with conflict is recognizing that the answer to conflict is listening. So be the person that promotes that the other person speaks, not you. Go second.
I like that.
Go second. You'll go second. Right after them, you'll have your turn. But to give the other person the microphone for a bit. By doing that and saying, I'm going to listen, that you will be getting more of the knowledge. You'll increase your pool of shared information. And with that might regulate your nervous system so that you can come down and be less triggered.
And it ultimately regulates the other person's nervous system. When you let me talk, I don't have to fight to talk. You've already sent the signal, this is not a battle, that this is a figuring out process. And so I can engage in figuring it out and start to put into the space what's going on for me.
Yeah. People believe that the time that they're going to start working on conflict is in the middle of conflict, and that's way too late.
That's like deciding I need to have a swimming lesson in the middle of like drowning.
Yeah.
I'm barely keeping my head above water, and that is not the time for the lesson. That's the time for a rescue mission, and then come back.
And so we're really speaking about having a meta conversation about conflict. So it sounds something like this, where you say, hey, honey, I'd like to talk about the way you and I negotiate conflict in our household.
Yeah, I agree.
So that would be step one. Inviting the other person to have an appointment, to sit down and say, tonight, no distractions, tonight is about talking about our conflict. Second thing about that is to identify how you guys play out the conflict. And so we call this the downward spiral. And so this is, what do I do? And then what do you do? And calling out the behaviors. So earlier we talked about me being the Hulk and her being the Ice Queen. So you talk that out and say that typically this is what happens. This is what we do. The first thing you might do is you might snap at me sharply and quickly.
I might have a judgmental statement where that feels very sharp and finger pointy.
And that makes me react with getting a little bigger. And then I will blockade you or shut you down.
And then that makes me react by withdrawing my energy and getting even more pointed and sharp when I do speak.
And then I feel your withdrawal. And then that makes me feel triggered that I'm now feeling abandoned. And then that makes me angry.
And then that gets me scared and nervous. And so then I want to shut down and flee.
And then I feel alone. So that's the downward spiral, and all couples do this. If you can talk it out or even draw it out, what the spiral is, and then therefore we get to the explosive yelling match. Once you know that and you can point it out, then you're taking ownership for your half, and hopefully your partner also takes ownership for their half.
And then you see that the argument actually is a co-creation. It's not them. It's not all you either. Actually, it's a co-creation, that downward spiral.
Yeah. So having a conversation about how we argue is kind of the first step to breaking out conflict apart. And so remembering a few things that we talked about, that conflict is your nervous system being activated. That makes us want to go fast, which is the killer of communication. Mm-hmm. We're operating with not a lot of knowledge. And so the answer to conflict is not us speaking more and sharing our knowledge. It's getting the other person's point of view and perspective. And acknowledging what are we actually arguing about? What is the need? Is this an argument about power? Is this an argument about respect? Is this an argument about safety and belonging, trust? What is it? If you can name what it is that you're arguing about, then you know that beneath the dirty dishes is something else more important that's happening.
And once the two of you have a good enough understanding and you are feeling seen and heard by each other, which will establish connection, then you can get into solutions or possibilities, things you might want to try together, things you want to keep an open conversation and dialogue about afterwards, mm-hmm. so that instead of returning back to conflict, actually you maintain that connection that you just worked to get.
Yeah, actually it's a really good point. A lot of clients say that they want to solve their problems, believing that the solution is the light bulb moment, but it isn't. It's actually understanding. Can we connect? Can I get you? Can I understand you? And will you do the same to get and understand me? So solutions aren't the light bulb moment. It's actually understanding is the light bulb moment. And that means that solutions can come much easier for the two of you.
And then it's possible, truly, it's possible to not be afraid or say, oh, I hate conflict, but to say, I really appreciate conflict and I really value when it shows up. And it's really been the source of deepening my understanding of me and my connection to the important people of my life. So here's the thing. Conflict is natural. You're never going to get away from it, so learning how to negotiate it better is going to be really helpful. Next time you see conflict arising, try and catch it early. Take a breath so you have a pause so you can regulate yourself, and then lean into curiosity instead of going into combat.
If you can negotiate your nervous system and increase your skills of listening, conflict will be much smoother for you.
And if you want any help with that, we're happy to do so.
Click the link in the description below and set up a 30-minute consultation. We'd love to chat and talk about how we can help you.
And if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button, share this with anyone you think could use this information, and make sure you stay tuned for our next video on more relationship advice.
Thanks for watching.